Are you ready,
Yeah,
Greg?
it's recording now, John.
Okay, guys, welcome to the Team Top Goal call for this Thursday, the 31st of July. It's fantastic to have you guys on board. Greg, welcome. Greg Watford from Queensland, and
Yeah,
also John Gregg. Great to
okay.
have the both of you guys on. We're going to be recording this for the team, and
Thanks, John.
mate, you're welcome, and it's really good to have you on board. You guys are movers and shakers and setting a great example in this business. What I'm doing is with this is just putting some basic training together to help our team. I've got a weak side that I'm building, and you guys are on the strong side as well. But putting this training together, I really want to piggyback and leapfrog on what Lawrence and Albie are doing, and that is getting people to focus on the basics. If there's anything, and I know you guys would believe in this, if there's anything that we should be doing, it's absolutely just uncomplicating what we're doing. In fact, what I like to try to aim to do is to undercomplicate things. I think that's very important because, and I include myself in this, it's so easy to get overwhelmed. They're so easy to try and do too much, to take too much on. And when you do that, you just end up not starting. It's a common downfall. People end up not starting. And when you don't start, you end up staying stopped. And I know what that feeling's like. So, guys, that's the background. And I'm in the process of building some lessons that I want to put together, sharing mindset, but building very, very step-by-step templates that I can share with people. In fact, I'll put a training funnel together for our team with these. So that's the next step as I'm going, putting that together. What I have had in the past is a spreadsheet with a whole bunch of webinars on Facebook training. And I think a lot of people still struggle with that. So my goal, for instance, with Facebook training is to, I've got a 45-minute webinar, bang, I cut it right down to this nice 13-minute section, and it just shows how this guy shows how you can just connect with people on a very simple and a very basic and a very fundamental level. So I want to keep it as simple as possible and undercomplicate it for folks. Do you guys have any comments on that just to start out with?
No, I think you're doing a
John
good
or
job,
Greg?
John. It's great
Yep.
that you've stepped out and actually doing this.
Okay, thanks very much. I've got a theme with this, and you know, people coming on board our business have to start in a very simple way. Here's my theme: start simple, start small, start fast, start now. Okay, because the thing is, you know, I even saw a guy have a video out there, and he was talking about, oh, you know, you might have to spend 6 months learning how to blog and do video marketing and do Twitter and everything like that. You'll end up killing yourself with overwhelm if that's what happens. It's just too much to take on. So there's really two types of marketing, and I heard this from Ray Higdon. What he said is you've got passive marketing and active prospecting. And if anybody's out there to this, is working this business part-time, if you had to make a choice between which one you do, and I'll define both of those in a minute, passive marketing and active prospecting, you should make a choice to lean towards active prospecting. And if you've only got an hour a day or 2 hours, you should spend 75% of your time active prospecting. And the way that's defined is speaking to and connecting with people. So passive marketing, by contrast, is, and this is important, but people get it the other way around, it's lead generation and then building relationships with those leads. If anything, people get it the other way around. Now, let me see if I think I've got Glenn coming on here. Glenn, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, perfect. We've got now the four amigos. Well, Glenn, it's great to have you on. I've got John Gregg from Queensland on board and also Greg Watford up in Queensland. Glenn, welcome to the call.
Thanks, mate.
All right. Can you guys hear Glenn?
Yeah, so we've
Yes,
got Glenn.
we can.
That's fine. Yep, that's fine, John.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, Glenn, what I was talking about, and you've heard me talk a little bit about this, is starting simple, starting small, starting fast, and starting now. If anything, I want to undercomplicate this for people. You know, the kind of training I've had in the past, I've had a spreadsheet that had probably about 10 webinars, all with really good information on it. But I mentioned that I've now got a 30-minute webinar. I've cut that down to 13 minutes and got this guy's permission to share that. And I'm going to build these into weekly lessons. But pretty well what I've been saying is, if you've only got an hour or two a day, and Glenn, I think you've got about 3, Greg, you're full-time, and John, I think you're part-time. If you had to break it down, Ray Higdon talks about 2 types of marketing: passive marketing and active prospecting. And breaking it down and leaning it heavily, 75% of your time should be active prospecting. So that means 45 minutes out of an hour, if an hour is all you've got. 15 minutes is passive marketing. And passive marketing is your, connecting on Facebook and sort of like sharing some content, liking on other people's stuff, generating leads, building a funnel, building a relationship with that. There's always a balancing act. The leaders in Carabar side with the PTG funnel say that there's 2 things that your business is about. It is about lead generation, and it's about developing a relationship with those leads. So you can't neglect that, and you will get instant results by doing that, as well as long-term ones. I got a sign up the other week through lead generation and building that list and building a relationship with it. But if you're limited for time, what Ray Higdon said is that if all you have is 45 minutes to an hour, and he's coached people like this, you can build an empire. Thing is, people turn that around and they spend all their time only trying to passively generate leads and not connecting with them. There is a person who I've seen, and this spells this out. And John, you and Colleen, you've done a lot of your stuff by face-to-face, belly, so that's active prospecting. Is under the strong side of Moss, and when I spoke to him about 3 to 6 months ago, he'd brought on 70 plus people who've signed up for free. Not one of them has upgraded. As soon as you get a sign up, you've got to get into your back office. You've got to find their phone number. I went and searched on Google for someone's email address and found them on Google Plus and found their number. Get a hold of them, contact with them, set a Skype call up, do whatever it is to build that relationship. Get them while they're warm before they get distracted. Build that relationship with them, connect with them. This guy is just like plugged into Facebook groups with his message, plugged into Facebook groups with his message, just got free sign-ups. All of this technology that we're talking about is a means to making a connection with people. People join people. They know, like, and trust. You've heard that 1,000 times. I'm really going to be talking about the basics all the time because I don't want to be racing ahead. And it's going to help you guys. Why I'm putting this together is I want to give you something that you can share with people to start them off right. Now, any time, Greg Watford, you can jump in and add to this, and John, add to your experiences. I don't want this to be a one-way dialogue, but I want to keep it basic because if anything, and I listen to what successful people are doing in the Hangouts, and they talk about boiling it down, and overwhelm does kill people. So having said that, I'm going to talk about a daily action plan, and I've drafted one up. And it's actually, you might think, well, is that all there is? And I've deliberately left it pretty empty because the thing is, unless you do the 1 or 2 things 2 or 3 times a day and get them spinning, it's a bit like an analogy I heard Robert G. Allen talk about, who's a guy that started an online university after having some New York Times bestsellers. It's just like the Chinese acrobats, and who hasn't been in this situation where unless you get one plate that's spinning and spinning well, right, you then start spinning another plate. So unless you get, some daily connection happening on Facebook, get that spinning well. If you get a half spinning, the third spinning, the first one's going to drop, and it won't be long before you're going to have like a carpet of smashed shards of porcelain at your feet. You know, you've got to get one plate spinning, and it's consistency. I've mentioned this on previous weeks. Doing the right thing consistently for long enough. Jeffrey Combs, someone I've listened to for years, says that your habits will make or break you. And if you've got a $10,000 a month goal, you have to have a habit that matches that goal. You've got to have a $10,000 habit. Ray Higdon says the only predictor of your success is your daily routine. I tried to find out who this was, but I've read this comment before, that you're either going to be a slave to your good habits or your bad habits. So you better make sure that it's your good habits. Okay? Fundamental stuff. And what I've done is I've come up with this action plan. I'm going to turn it into a PDF, and I'll put links onto Google Docs, which is a good way to share it with you guys. I'll give an example. I've found I come home, I'm tired from work, and I relax, and I've kind of had a half-hearted exercise routine for a long time, but when I actually developed a daily method of operation, you're kind of compelled to fill those squares in. You check them off as you go. There's more incentive if you've got an action plan in front of you for each day to tick those boxes and to move on. So I've kept this simple, and here is some daily affirmations in the morning, post a piece of content on the web for Facebook each day. Now, you guys may or may not be into Facebook marketing, but the thing is, Jim Rohn has said this, and when you share value, that's where people see you as somebody of value, and money goes towards value. Both Jim Rohn said that. In fact, before Jim Rohn was even born, when you go back and you read what Napoleon Hill said, he said to make yourself more valuable so that you're putting more value or giving more value than you get compensated for, and eventually you'll get compensated for more value than you're putting out. So these are time-honoured principles. So that's how simple it is. And connecting with 3 to 5 people or 5 to 10 people in the morning on Facebook, and that doesn't mean messaging them and hitting them up with your opportunity. Take a look at the Brian Pedersen stuff. I don't know, Glenn, if you had a chance to check that out, the 13 minutes. He just shows you, Glenn, you had a question of me, what do I do when people friend you? That's great when that's happening. Go to their profile, have a look. Most people don't do this. Click on a picture or two, make a comment, and say, oh, you know, it's winter. I actually did this week with a leader who I knew 3 to 5 years ago that was in a program, who was actually the marketing director of that company. And I was doing a bit of Facebook searching, and he came up, and I went to his profile, and he's like in Florida, and he's just ending his vacation. But I just said, oh, it's been a long time. How have you been? It's winter in Australia. Glad you're enjoying, you know, the vacation there. How's it been? And I didn't get a response straight away, but I got a response today. Oh, good, just ending up a vacation. Yeah, next week sometime might be a good time to chat. Now, he was in a big company that talked about protecting people through gold. It's called Wealth Masters International. It was a top ticket thing that used to have events that Mike Dillard used to be involved in before he had his Elevation Group founded. Don't know where that to be, but say 100% of the shots I don't take aren't going to come in. So it's just basic habits, okay? 5 to 10 people, if you just started, it doesn't matter. 5 to 10 people at lunchtime, and 5 to 10 people in the evening. Do it for 20 or 30 minutes each time, and make it a part of your routine. And here's why this is powerful. Jim Rohn said that 3 of anything a day is actually 1,000 in a year. So if you look back and you've connected with 3 people a day, that's 1,000 in a year. We do what I'm talking about, 5 to 10 in the morning. That's that 3 times a day. That's 20 to 30 a day. Do you know what the figures come out of how many people that is in a year? Anybody want to have a guess or calculate it? It's 10,000 people in a year, right? Now, those connections aren't all going to go somewhere, but what's your business going to look like, you know, in a year's time, if 20% of those people you've got a connection and a rapport with, and you don't give your opportunity out immediately, and by the way, guys, I'm actually typing up, and I'm 2/3 the way through it, and I'll be sharing this as well. Rejection-free marketing on Facebook, and it's notes that were given to me that came from Jessica Higdon's webinar that she's done on Facebook training. If you connected, if say 10,000 people, if only 20% you got a bit of a rapport, and then if only half of them, 1,000, ended up asking you about what opportunity, so out of that 1,000 that you shared their opportunity with, your opportunity with them, if start to do the maths and break it down and think about where you're going to be, and if you apply this very, very, very simple methodology and you duplicate it with others, and if you only got 20% of the people that you sign up doing this, how geometrically exploded your business is going to look like in a year's time. You know, this is starting simple, it's starting small, it's not overwhelming, it's starting fast, and it's starting now. The problem is most people don't start. Because the bottom line is, and here's another Ray Higdon-ism, the bottom line, your business is going to grow, whether you're doing it online or offline, developing rapport, getting in contact with people who signed up for free. The bottom line, build your company presentation. It's as simple and it's as complicated as that. So if you start with those big numbers, break them down, and if only, say, 1,000 people, you know, and only, say, half of them looked at the presentation and you got to follow up with them, and then if you broke it down, that 500 down to 30% took an interest, you know, we're down to 300. I'm really cutting the numbers down to cut the hype out of this. And then if only 200 then really looked at it seriously and 100 joined, you know, you're going to get a lot better odds than this just by being consistent. Do you see the power of doing the right thing? Number one. Consistently. Number two. For long enough. I'm putting my hand up, you can't see it, but I've been guilty of doing the right thing, doing it consistently for a period of time, but not doing it long enough. I'm sharing daily content. I'm going to open up and tell you guys, I've been doing more Facebook marketing, connecting, whatever, but I'm focusing, I'm re-energized into building a list. I've got 115 leads as of today. I'm going to make a note of them in a diary, and another thing that we'll eventually get to is charting that out, because Earl Nightingale, who was really one of the founders of personal development, at least with the Nightingale Conant Corporation that Anthony Robbins and people like Mark Victor Hansen have been published in, says that, who can tell me what the strangest secret is that Earl Nightingale talks about?
Writing down a goal and looking at it every day.
That's a very good response, Glenn. And it's the looking at it every day. What is that? Does anybody else want to know how to get? Here's what he said, and it doesn't matter if you don't know this, but I would suggest that you go ahead and Google Earl Nightingale, World's Strangest Secret, and either watch or download that and listen to it. Here it is. You get what you focus on. You get what you focus on most of the time. Now, James Allen said in his book, As a Man Thinketh, you know, you become what you think about. Buddha said that everything you are is the result of everything that you thought. Okay, these are sort of timeless truths. Solomon said in Proverbs that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you're not focused on what you need to be focused on actions, not results. The results will come, but also chart the results that you get. Because you're going to want to see that chart go up, and it's like it's going to frustrate you that I've only got 100 leads and last week 100, something get that up. Okay, so you get what you focus on most of the time. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I spoke about affirmations. Wayne, who's not on this call this week, spoke to me about affirmations, and I've heard, I'm going to put my hand up, I've been guilty. It's one of those fantastic things you hear about that really top people talk about, and you think about it being one of these positive, pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality type thing, airy-fairy, talk about affirmations. But you think about, well, that's a good idea, but then you end up thinking about the good idea. As Jim Rohn says, things that are simple to do are also simple not to do. And I've been guilty for years about not doing them. But Wayne, who's up there in Queensland, where you guys are, and Glenn's been on calls with Wayne, shared this video about this guy who shared this video that Eric Worre shared of the top 100% top leading highest income earner on the face of this planet. I've got to get his name wrong. Someone will correct me. Carlton Hobbs, or his last name is Hobbs. He's an African-American guy full of energy. He says affirmations several thousand times a day, and he's only earning about $1.2 million per month. And I found I was stuffed the other day. I was tired. I was exhausted. I got up. I had low energy, and I started saying my affirmations again, and I got energy back. And it's like, if you say these things like this is what this other guy shared. 2 a day is easy. 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 I'm a $5,000 a month income earner. I'm a $5,000 a month income earner. I'm a $5,000 a month income earner. 5,000 leads by the end of the year. 5,000 leads by the end of the year. I've actually got this drawn up. I'm going to share it as a template. If it's within the realms of your believability, you're going to act in accordance with that which you just keep telling you. It's like, I don't have time to waste. I've been somewhat unsociable on social media. I'm sort of building stuff up, building these lessons. Because what I'm saying is, I can do what in PTG are doing. And I'm not being boastful. So I'm telling myself that I am a $50,000 a month income earner. I'm a $50,000 a month income earner. I've had great ideas about putting this training together. Well, it's happening. My recording, putting my hand up and but when you say that with them, that I'm doing also, I said Vegas become and adding colour. I'm going to add incentive plan. You should do this thing, and I'll share it with you guys as well. What I downloaded the other day is I actually go ahead and write this down. The Bellagio in Las. Go ahead and put that into Google, and then go and click on images, and download those images and make a presentation up that you print in colour and look at every day. Because it's just an awesome place. And imagine if we got incentives to go to that place and rock up to that place. It's visioning, it's picturing, you get what you focus on most of the time. Sound good, guys?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah, it sounds great, John. Excellent, excellent.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's simple. It's so great. Having people to talk to, mate, fires me up. People like it, so you guys fire me up. But, it's like, yeah, that's good. You heard for Jeff about get the Rob report. Look at it. It's the luxury magazine for luxury lifestyle. It's not the coveting of the physical goods. It's the elevation of your mindset to... Mate, I'm inspired to put together basic training for people because I want as many people to get to Las Vegas. It's going to be a big goal for me, I looked on with admiration and respect and longing to be with the people that were at the Nashville convention. Let's make it a goal and share that with others. by what we focus on into every single thing that we do. I recall the guy, but mate was offline at 5 o'clock. Reconnect, you know, reach. I'll say this, that the week you're having this week is a result of what you did last week. You set the sail. Jim Rohn talks about this. It's not the wind, but the setting of the sail. You set the sail for next week and how you're going to be sailing on across the waters by what you do this week. So I connected with this guy. I wanted to do a bit of training. I've done some screenshots, but I'll be actually connecting with this guy next week. It's the action steps. I'm connecting with a guy tomorrow morning that you'll find that it can take a week or two to set a time up to connect with people at times, but you keep doing it. We're always, and I got inspired by listening to, I forget who I was listening to, whether it was The Magic of Thinking Big, which Gerald Allen Jr. spoke about a couple of weeks ago about us getting, and I'll share this stuff with you, Glenn. You guys, John and Greg, have got access to this stuff. But you literally are creating your reality right now. As you're listening to this, what you do after this call, we are creating that future right now for better or for worse. We're making that reality come in to existence. When we speak and say these affirmations, here's how Jeffrey Combs talks about it. We're actually bringing into existence a reality that we're creating a reality that we're speaking into existence. It drives your mindset. So to harken back to what I said with this action plan, affirmations at the beginning of the day, end of the day, if you think about it, when you're driving, if any of you are driving anywhere, you have to tune out to tune in. You've got to tune Idiot FM out and Talkback Radio and the Court of Public Opinion radio out to tune into mindset. You can't afford in this game not to be driving anywhere without listening to mindset. I said this and I haven't lived up to it as much as I should have over this last week, but I can't afford to be walking anywhere from my car to this work building, from this work building to the plant without saying my affirmations to build my mindset, to share that level of vibration and to be, you know, bringing that to other people, developing this training. Can't afford to waste that time. You know, we're on a mission. Time's not a luxury that we have to waste. Our most precious resource and commodity that any of us do have at any time is our time. And we have to qualify people for that time. So I've really rattled on a fair bit. Do you guys have anything you want to add to that? To what I've said?
I saw Anthony Robbins speak about incantations as opposed to affirmations. I thought that was quite good. He was saying, you know, you don't necessarily just say it, you know, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, or whatever your affirmation happens to be, but, you know, you really put some emotion and some enthusiasm and some, you know, that kind of stuff. And, you know, the way he said it was really quite inspiring, and I really enjoyed that, and I think I'll head down that path.
Can you do me a favour, John, and put the link to that video in, and I'll put it in the trainings. That's a really good point, because Anthony Robbins talks a lot about, great for sharing that, John, too, by the way. He talks about being driven by a dream and having an emotional, well, everything I hear about is talking about emotional intensity, but he said there's no use, you have to acknowledge things for what they are. And that's why it's not a matter of saying there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds in a garden that's full of weeds. If you're messages in your life, but instead maybe saying this, and you guys chime in. I'm planting good stuff every day. I'm planting positive stuff every day. I'm ripping the weeds out and planting good stuff every day. I'm planting the good stuff every day. I'm replacing the good with the bad. I'm ripping those bad weeds out. In a way, you can't focus on the negative because you get more of what you focus on, but you focus on the good that you're doing to drive the bad out. So replacing the bad habit with the good habit or whatever. Does that sort of ring with what maybe you can explain just a little bit more, John, about what incantations are instead of affirmations.
Well, the way I interpret it, it's just really putting a lot of energy, enthusiasm, and sort of telling a bigger kind of story, rather than just saying, a very sort of short kind of goal. It's sort of, everybody I contact really wants to hear what I have to say. I'm filled with enthusiasm. I have charisma, blah blah blah. And you talk about a bit of a story that you can say over and over again, and something that you can get really enthusiastic about, and sort of paint a picture in your mind of how fantastic it's going to be. Sort of involve all the senses and stuff.
Yep, and the emotions. That's excellent. Yeah.
Sort of paint a bright, vivid picture of what it is that you want to experience, basically.
Mm-hmm. In vivid detail, so you can relate to it. Yeah, John, if you want to send me that.
Get really enthusiastic about it. So I've just got to make sure I find the right link. But as soon as I find it, I'll send it to you.
Okay. No, that's excellent. Excellent. Well, my goal with these calls is to make them about a half hour long. I don't know if you guys have anything else that you wanted to bring up or cover.
No, that's fine.
Has this been helpful,
John? That's fine from our end. Look, the only thing that comes to my mind is I can't remember who actually said it. There's a whole book written about it called Power of the Spoken Word, and both Wendy and I are conscious of that. It's what you verbalise tends to come true. So just being aware of what comes out of your mouth on a daily basis is really important.
Yeah. It's like the words create your thinking. The words reflect your thinking, and people. It's just the rubbish. It's like the subconscious, and what you tell yourself you end up believing. There's this really, really great quote that's in some of the stuff that's in the back office. Not only do you get what you think about most of the time, but this is a really good Henry Ford one about whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, either way you're right. It's the thinking that makes it so. And oftentimes people will say, oh, I tried that once and all that stuff doesn't work. They've actually just proven that it does work because they've told themselves and they've said that it's not working, and they're actually living that reality and actually proving that concept on the negative flip side works, and they believe it because that's their experience. And they're kind of, you have to tell yourself a different story,
Okay, yeah, that's great, John. Yes.
All right. So thanks for that comment, Greg, about the power of words. If that's it, unless anybody else has got any other questions, keep connecting out there. If anybody's got any...
One more comment, John, if that's all right.
Yeah, no worries, John.
Years ago, I used to read a lot of self-help books and all that kind of,
Yep.
And it had this life blueprint suggested in one of the books that I read. And I wrote down a whole bunch of goals that I wanted to achieve, right, and then promptly forgot about it. Right, and then years later I found that book, opened it up, and like 90% of the goals I had actually achieved.
Wow.
It was amazing.
That's incredible. I've heard stories of people.
That's the power of writing down your goals.
Yeah, I'm listening a lot to the fact that the more senses you actually engage, touch, feel, whatever it is, and the actual physical writing, the action of writing with the hand, there's a mind-body connection there that cements it so much more with neuro pathways in the brain than merely just typing something. And I mentioned this last week in that here's the thing about these affirmations as well. If you put a tape recorder on, growing up I used to hate the sound of my own voice on a tape, but when you listen to yourself on tape, that's actually how you sound. When you're actually talking, 2/3 of it is vibrating through your sinus cavities. If they're blocked up, you'll notice how different you sound in your own head. Actually vibrating through to the inner ear, 2/3 of what you hear is the sound going internally through the sinus cavities in your head up all the way through to the inner ear. And that's engaging the senses, and you're physically reading it. So you're hearing it, you're reading it, you're feeling it through your own. Let's just coin a phrase, you're rattling your brain, right, at the same time. When you're physically writing it down, it's much more powerful than even typing it. But that's interesting, you picked that up all those years later. So here's the power of writing these things down and setting goals. It all builds on itself, and it's creating that reality and bringing it into focus. I'll finish off by saying a lot of people get hung up by looking for the latest how to do something, but mindset and positive mental attitude, everything, the level of vibration in the mind and the brain is greater than 90% of it, because you can do the physical doing, but the thing is, if your mind is not in the game all the time, obstacles come up and you lose your momentum. I've mentioned it to you, I haven't been as consistent this last week as I should have been with my affirmations. It has to become a daily habit, and it's the only way you can drive the bad out and create the good. So guys, thanks very much for your time this week. We're going to get some really good momentum going with these calls. Greg's been recording it this week. He's going to share that with me. What I'll do is I'll share it with you guys as well, and I'll put it up on my YouTube, and we can develop this and keep the momentum happening and continuing on a weekly basis. So thank you, Glenn, John and Greg, for not only your time but your contribution. It's been very good. I look forward to catching up with you guys at the same time, 6 p.m. South Australian time. I think that's 4:30 over in Perth. Glenn and also Greg and John over on the East Coast, that's 6:30 on Eastern time. So thanks very much, guys. It's been great to connect with you this week, and together, collectively and collaboratively, put this together, this training together. All together. All right, so thanks guys, great to have you on board, and I look forward to touching base with you less tongue-tied next week. Thanks very much, guys.
Right, thank you, John. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot. Bye for